scientists created the most advanced robot companion in the world. She looks exactly like a human being, with a sophisticated artificial nervous system that gives them real physical sensations. Apart from not needing to eat or sleep, these robots are almost indistinguishable from humans. The most crucial thing is their complete obedience to their owner's commands. Once this robot companion hit the market, it quickly gained users' approval, selling tens of thousands of units in a single day. However, the scientists were not satisfied. They aimed to develop a robot that could love, one that could cater to emotional needs for the product to be truly valuable. The easiest way to fulfill these conditions was through child robots. The opportunity came quickly when a young couple, Henry and his wife, visited the cryogenic center periodically to see their son, Martin. He had been frozen for 5 years, with the hope of being cured when medical technology advanced enough to awaken him. But after diagnosis, the doctors determined that the chances of Martin's recovery were minimal. Watching his wife being melancholic all the time, Henry sought out the scientists. Not long after, Henry gave a gift to his wife. It was a boy named David, who bore a striking resemblance to Martin. David was a custom-made emotional robot. However, upon seeing this child, his wife lost control of her emotions. In her heart, no one could replace her own son. Over the next few days, the wife tried various ways to drive this robot out of the house. But being a mother, she gradually ceased to reject David. Eventually, she decided to adopt this robot and raise him as her own child, intending to nurture David with her own love. Before officially signing the adoption agreement, Henry reminded his wife that once she accepted this child, David's love for his mother would be stored in a computer chip. If she ever rejected the child, David would be recalled and destroyed. After a night of contemplation, the wife signed the adoption agreement. However, not long after, the situation took an unexpected turn. Martin was suddenly brought back home because there had been a breakthrough in medical technology, and he had miraculously been cured after being frozen for 5 years. From that moment on, the atmosphere at home gradually became tense. The wife had initially planned to treat both children equally and share her love between them, but Martin was her biological son after all. Soon, David was left in the corner. His favorite story time with the blue fairy and the wooden boy became an exclusive moment for Martin. In order to secure exclusive affection from their mother, during meals, Martin deliberately provoked David by flaunting his human abilities. David, unwilling to back down, also overexerted himself, leading to a system breakdown on the spot. One night, Martin told David that if he wore their mother's hair, he would receive her love. Innocent David approached the bedside and slowly reached for the scissors.
David! Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Talk to me! David, goddammit, talk to me, David! Why did you do that, David?
You're hurting him!
Why did you do
You're
that?
hurting him!
Tell me, why?
Don't break him!
Henry, I wanted Mommy to love me.
The next day, at the amusement park, Martin revealed David's secret as being a robot to his peers. The children, curious, crowded around and started touching him. David, scared, hid behind Martin, accidentally dragging him into the pool. Henry immediately jumped in and rescued Martin, but David sank to the bottom, watching the scene with a heart full of sadness. In consideration of Martin's safety, the wife decided to give up adopting David. However, she couldn't bear to have him sent back for destruction. She lied, claiming they were going on a trip, and left David in the wilderness. As night fell, David realized he had been abandoned. In his quest for his mother's love, he decided to find the legendary Blue Fairy and ask her to turn him into a human. But soon, he realized that there were countless robots like him who had been abandoned. Suddenly, a second moon appeared in the sky, and the robots, sensing danger, scattered. The moon turned out to be a spacecraft designed to capture robots, and they were swiftly captured and taken to a robot slaughterhouse. The audience there sought pleasure by watching the execution of the robots, who, in order to endure less pain, quickly instructed their companions to deactivate their pain sensors. In the chaos, a teddy bear managed to escape and was picked up by a girl, while David, confined in a cage, called out to his father. The man scanned the boy's body and discovered that he was, in fact, a robot. Unable to bear the thought of David being destroyed, he sought out the big boss, hoping to buy the robot. However, not only did the boss refuse, but he also sent David to the execution ground ahead of schedule. Next, they would be drenched in sulfuric acid, corroding them completely. David was immediately terrified and began to cry.
Don't burn me! Don't burn me! I'm not Pinocchio! Don't make me die! I'm David! I'm David! I'm David!
His innocent sobbing caught the attention of the audience. Seeing his adorable state, the crowd assumed that the twisted boss was using a real child to please the spectators. As the first person threw a shoe, the audience's emotions exploded, and they rushed to beat up the boss. Seizing the opportunity, the robot, Al, grabbed him and ran into the forest. Al was initially the most advanced robot companion. But during work, a client's husband, jealous of his wife's attachment to the robot, secretly shot her. To evade suspicion, he had to flee overnight, becoming a nameless wandering robot. Upon learning of David's wish, Al took him to the metropolis to consult Dr. Know-It-All about the whereabouts of the Blue Fairy. Dr. Know-It-All was an artificial intelligence who knew everything in the world, only requiring a 50-cent deposit to answer any question. David sat on the chair and earnestly asked his question.
Who is Blue Fairy?
Are you sad, lonely, looking for a friend? Blue Fairy Escort Service will find a mate for you.
With Al's help in the interrogation, the image of the Blue Fairy was projected on the screen. As for her location, Dr. Know-It-All provided an answer. The Blue Fairy is at the place where the world's end sees the lion weep. Hearing this location, Al became nervous because it was rumored that robots that went there never returned. Nevertheless, he was still willing to take David there. At this place, David encountered another version of himself, claiming to be the real David. Fearing that his mother might be taken away, David used a stool to smash his doppelganger's head, only to realize that the other was also a robot. At that moment, a scientist appeared and told David that to commemorate his deceased son, he had created many identical robots. Unexpectedly, under the influence of maternal love, David had developed desires and independent consciousness. Gazing at the countless versions of himself around, David finally came to terms with reality. David leapt off the building and slowly sank into the depths of the sea. Now he finally understood that he was just a robot, a mass-produced commodity. At that moment, he suddenly saw the Blue Fairy, but before he could reach out, a mechanical claw dragged him out of the water. David informed Al of this, but before the two could depart, Al was suspended in mid-air as the police arrived. Before leaving, he instructed David to activate
When you become a real boy, remember me to the ladies when you grow up.
The automatic submersion, allowing the submarine to carry David back to the seabed. Soon, David saw the Blue Fairy.
Please make me into a real live boy. Please. Blue Fairy. Please.
Only to find that she was merely a statue. David continued to gaze at her, awaiting the fairy's response, until his energy was completely depleted. 2,000 years quickly passed, and the Earth was completely covered in ice and snow. Humanity had vanished without a trace, and the continuously evolving robots had become the new masters. They discovered David in the submerged vessel and awakened him. The first thing he did upon waking was to continue praying to the Blue Fairy. However, as his hand touched the statue, the Blue Fairy split open and scattered on the ground. The mechanical life read his memory storage and decided to help him fulfill his wish. Finally, David saw the Blue Fairy and devoutly made a wish, hoping to become a real boy. Unfortunately, this wish could not be granted because this was merely a dream created by mechanical life. However, there was still one way, obtaining a sample of his mother's genetic material. Regrettably, it had been 2,000 years, making this an impossible task. At that moment, a teddy bear produced a strand of hair, the very one David had cut from his mother's head that night. Now his wish could be granted. The next morning, his mother lay quietly in bed, and David ran into the room with eagerness. She had only one child now, and she finally received maternal love.